All right, here we are live. I have to get the Facebook straightened around. They still do that. They still switch it. So we're live tonight. We're going to talk about some just some pretty controversial stuff regarding economic growth, legal versus illegal immigration. It all ties together, and for some reason, there are a certain group of people that can't discern the difference. So we're going to talk about it. Hopefully you guys will join in with us tonight, and I think it'll be a kick butt show. I'm excited.
So I hope everyone's doing well. The primary topic of tonight's discussion will be about it's going to be economic growth, illegal versus legal immigration. And so I want to give everyone a little bit of background about this. America, in its proper context, we are a nation of immigrants, okay? It started with, you could say, obviously, the Native Americans coming from Siberia. You could say those, if you want to be technical, they were the first ones, but then came the British, the Dutch. Well, you say the Spanish got here first, the French, the Germans, the Italians, the Jews, Chinese and Japanese and Koreans came here on the West Coast. And obviously, we've had a lot of Central Americans as of recent come through the South. And we've had a series of this is a country that's ultimately of immigrants. But let's face it, guys, to have a holistic, monolithic society that holds together, you have to have something that unites all these different cultures. And that's what America's been able to do for most of its history. It unites a common people. How do we do that is with the United States Constitution and our legal body. We're very welcoming of all immigrants. We've proven through a 200-year track record we can assimilate any group of people in this country successfully. But the whole key, guys, is assimilation into the culture. These individual groups of immigrants can keep their own little insular communities, say Chinatown or Germantown or Little Italy, but ultimately America's been about integrating the whole into a system. You often hear people say white people this, white people that, but 100 years ago, white people weren't white people. There was Italians, there was Irish, there was Germans, there were Brits, they were Jews. These five groups are all considered white today, when in reality they're actually five completely different ethnicities. We've done so well integrating everybody that you can't really tell a difference, and that's what America's all about.
It is, and I guess the thing that troubles me the most is the fact that all the immigration, like you said, we're a country of immigrants, right? And there has to be a process of becoming a citizen, right? Of becoming a citizen to the country. And when those processes aren't followed, then it's a criminal activity, right? So it's a criminal activity or criminal act, which makes it illegal. So the thing that I see across social media, anywhere, all platforms, all the way across, is there's a certain group of people that oppose the whole securing the borders, because the immigrants have rights here. Well, they fail to recognize the fact that the ones that come here legally and follow the processes already in place have no problem here. They prosper, they start businesses, they make fortunes, they live a free life. Those who come here illegally and have no intent of following the processes to become legal are the ones that we have the problem with. And that's where the ICE and all that comes into play in sending them back, giving them a chance to come back and do it right, like so many of those have before them. So But at any rate, I'm kind of headed way further than where we're at in the discussion. But that was just my thoughts right now. So
Sure, sure. So just so everyone understands where we're coming from, that John and myself, and I can speak for the other guy because we've had extensive discussion with it. We are pro-immigrant. We just want people to come here the right way and integrate into society because we understand that in order to have an America we can pass down to our kids and grandkids. Now, I don't have any kids, but I speak for those who do, that we need to have a holistic society for the most part. And when we are united in our values, we can be different in our skills, our thoughts, our opinions. In our values, when we're united, we're a very strong country. And in order to, I take it back to tribalism, okay? There's a great book Francis Fukuyama wrote, The Origins of Political Order. It starts about how basically how politics starts is it starts with tribes. Tribes get so big and so unmanageable, they turn into states, and then states turn into sovereign nations. And basically how it comes down to it, the micro is shared values. Once you have dissident groups or dissident factions that don't want to buy into values, there's warfare that breaks out, or one tribe eventually takes out the other. If it's a big one taking out a small one, or a faster tribe taking out a slower tribe. We don't want to return to an era of tribalism where it's my tribe versus yours. That's in our biology to be tribalism. And I have a Bible right here. Any Christians are out there. If you go to Genesis and the Tower of Babel, okay, if you want to put this in the context of God or Christianity, the Judeo-Christian values, they separated us, different tribes of people, so we couldn't communicate for that reason. That tribes have antithetical values to one another. What John and I are going to make the case tonight is that we need to have aligned values. And if we can't have alignment of values, it's going to break down. It's going to get bad. And when John's referring, and well, myself as well, when we're referring to coming through a process, it's no different than me knocking on your door, you letting me in your house, and I obeying whatever your house's rules, or whatever institution I'm at. If I'm in a private business, or if I'm in an organization, or if I'm in a civic center, there are a set of rules that need to be followed, or otherwise you will be asked to leave. You need to respect what they call sovereignty, or in the micro individual ownership, private property. You need to respect the sovereign. And immigrants, as of recent, haven't been asked to respect that process. They've been saying, oh no, you can keep your values from where you came from. The hell with America. Keep your values. And what that causes, guys, that creates tribalism, okay? When you have tribes of differing values, that creates tribalism, and tribal warfare starts breaking out. Why is that? It all starts with a lack of unaligned values. The values start breaking apart, going apart. And that's where you have that's where they call it in evolution group-based competition, where you have different groups competing for various resources, and then they use their political power against each other, and it just gets really, really nasty and ugly. All throughout human history, this has happened, and it's a very bad thing. But it can all be avoided if we can just find an alignment of values. And that's all we're asking here. And I'll cue it to you.
Seems like a pretty simple process. It really does. First of all, let me welcome you guys to the show that are on here, joined us. Appreciate you joining us. I got your comments here on Facebook. For some reason, it won't let me type on Facebook, only on YouTube. So welcome to the show. Thanks for your input. This show is here for all of us. So you guys, if you want to join in the conversation, throw out your comments, and we'll certainly have a discussion. Back to the tribalism and all of what Jakob just said. That's where the lack of the process, the lack of the integration, the lack of following the house rules. When you go to grandma's house, you leave your shoes at the door. You don't wear your shoes in the house. That's a rule. And you know that that's a rule. Well, the problem that I see here is those rules are being ignored, and they're wearing their shoes into grandma's house, right?
Oh, man.
So they're tracking their dirt into grandma's house, and grandma don't want their dirt in the house. And That's why we have a process that has to be followed. And those who are here for all the right reasons, that come here for all the right reasons, have no problem following the process and becoming a legal citizen. It seems simple to me.
Yeah, so let me branch off from that. So guys, how does it get to this point? So how do we go from the immigration really worked well all throughout American history? How it worked well and how did it start breaking down? So if you guys go back to our history from how its inception, it was basically an open land. We had Native Americans come down here. When the Bering Strait froze over, they came from Siberia down. And then after that, we had a series of the Columbian Exchange, from the Dutch to the English to the French to the Germans came far after the Spanish, and all these different inquisitions came. They had their own territories. Of course, naturally, they're going to fight for resources. But once it was an established sort of civilization we would have openings where they would bring in certain waves of immigrants. Like the Irish had a potato famine; they brought them in. We had a huge a lot of European Jews because of the Holocaust and the Third Reich taking over in Europe. We brought in a lot of Jewish Jewish Europeans in. We brought in a lot of Russians. We were very careful with that. We were very careful and selective in that process. And also, when we had the Hart-Celler Act of 1964, let me go back to the Chinese Act. Before the Chinese Seclusion Act in 1896, we brought in a lot of Chinese immigrants to help build our railroads on the West Coast, not the Central and East Coast, but the West Coast. They helped build the railroads. And then after that, we closed off immigration from 1896 all the way to the Hart-Celler Act. That's when we opened up immigration to the third world. Now, up until that point, we didn't have a lot of immigration from any other country. It was mainly European countries is where the bulk of the immigration came from. In 1965, we decided we want to integrate more people from different countries, give them opportunity, just to kind of mix it up, get a new ideas. Because you understand, guys, when you have a diversity of ideas, not values, but you have a diversity of ideas, you really do gain from that, because we all have a different of perspective, and when we can sort of filter out each other's biases, and sort of the best idea wins in an open society like the United States. That's a value, man, and that's a great thing when you have different people bringing their different perspectives all to the table, and we can sort of parse out the best ideas here, and here, and that's why capitalisms thrive. Now, naturally, that goes into the economics of it. And that's what the whole point of the discussion is about: is the economic growth. Now, in economics, I brought us to the point where why are we bringing in a lot of mainly third world migrants versus immigrants from everywhere else? And the reason why is the cost of labor. They come from areas that are very blighted. They're not developed. There's a whole host of theories behind this, and I don't want to go into all that. I guess you could say there's corrupt governments in these countries. There's been an argument about brain drain, like we've taken their very best people into European, British colonized and American countries. British colonized countries and European countries. We brain drained the world and took their very best, and they haven't developed. There's also human capital concerns of education, and anyway, there's a whole host of reasons why we take these people in. But the whole thing is this: when we've taken in, I believe the number is over 65 million people from the third world. They have family members of where they come from, and they have communication networks, and they talk. They don't want to go by the system and wait their turn, because we've brought in a lot of people, and it's like we need to assimilate and integrate the ones that are already here. Instead of them waiting their turn in line, they want to go around because they want some of this American prosperity. And I don't blame them, by the way. I would do the same thing. If I was in Mexico, if I was in Haiti, I would be doing the same damn thing. Okay. But there's a process to it. There's a legal way to do it and an illegal way to do it. And when it comes to economics, guys, what is illegal? Illegal is black market. Legal is the market. Okay. When you have illegal people enter the market, there comes a black labor market. What happens in black labor markets? You get crime, or any black market. You get crime, you get inefficiencies of price, you get instability of a market. And you can't appropriately predict and control a market when you have a lot of black markets, like sub-black markets within a market. Okay, so when you bring in, when you bring in a lot of these different illegal laborers or illegal immigrants with they're bringing their labor, they bring their vices and virtues. Okay, so like if you live in a foreign country, say, and I live in this country, we trade goods. Your vices and virtues stay where you're from, and my vices and virtues. But when you bring in illegal people that don't have to integrate into society or assimilate, okay, that brings up the situation where they bring their vices and virtues. Now, I have a study here. It's the impact of illegal immigration on wages and employment of opportunity black workers. Now, for those of us who already know this, black workers tend to be of the lowest socioeconomic status, okay? Now, why is that important? Because these black workers are competing directly for the limited jobs with illegal immigrants. Now, I don't want to get into the political part of this, but when you have a downward pressure on wages, black workers can't gain economic opportunity because if there's a limited number of jobs and you bring in a higher supply of labor, when you have more labor to choose from, you're going to choose the lowest cost provider that solves your problem. So inevitably, the black man or the black woman, they're pushed out if they don't have the skills. And this study, I believe it comes from, I think it comes from the Center of Immigration Studies. I can't remember where it came from, but anyway, the whole breakdown is basically when you have a lot of immigrants, it's okay to bring them in a little at a time through a system, but when we're mass immigrating and we don't know who the hell they are, and I'll look up a Yale study real quick. Yale University had an estimate of 20 million illegal immigrants in this country. 20 million. Guys, that is so disruptive. I want you guys to imagine in your business, what if you guys had somebody in the marketplace that was operating illegally and they could lower the cost of their goods because they don't have to comply with all the regulations, the taxes, the labor, whatever it is to bring in their goods, and they're undercutting the law, it'll make you have an inferior product on equal footing. So you can't compete now. But if you bring it to the market and they have to compete on equal footing, now consumers will have to decide. But if somebody's offering an inferior product at I shouldn't say an inferior product, but a product that's operating outside of the legalities and the restrictions, it creates an unfair situation where it's called Gresham's law, where bad drives out the good, where consumers are just going to take the illegal product over the good product. And anyway, to put it all back to economic growth, guys, is we have a lot of these people in these positions of power where the political donor class, the political consultant class, and you could say the big business class, they want illegal immigration because they benefit from it, whereas people in the middle class, they don't. These people come into our markets with their labor and they compete directly with us, and it lowers our price or lowers our bargaining power for wages. And I'll just sum up with that for now. That's the beginning of the argument. Do you have anything to add to that, John?
First of all, let me just say, since you were looking for it, this study was put out by the United States Civil Rights Commission.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so United States Civil Rights Commission that put out. Thank you.
And they conducted the study along the lines of the pushing the price down and the wages down and stuff. That's where it causes us a socioeconomic, it messes, how do I want to word this? So it makes it so that you and I can't make a livable wage because they'll work for cheaper, right? Because they're illegal. So they can't do anything about it. So they take what they can get, right? And if the employers can get the work done cheaper, they're doing it. And so in the end, you and I suffer from it because we miss out on jobs and the wages are so low that you can't even make a living wage. We see that a lot. I mean, you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere you go, but you see a lot of it with major large companies coming in and tabling the market and monopolizing the market and running other smaller businesses out of business, and then paying the workers a non-living wage, and they don't have anywhere else to go, and they have to, and it's like a ripple effect. It just goes and goes and goes, and I don't know what the answer is to it, and I don't know where the end of it'll land, but
well,
there needs to be something different.
Sure. So let me pick up the baton from here. So there's another study, John. If you want to go in the private chat, I want to show everybody.
I just grabbed it.
Okay, cool. There's another study I want to share with you guys. So just because these studies are very politically incorrect, guys, there's a study from the Center of Immigration Studies. It's the second one down. 63% of non-citizen households. Okay, non-citizen is a politically correct term for illegal alien. Okay, they're in the process of. So when somebody comes here illegally, they're not kicked out of the country right away. They tend to go to an ICE facility. But because ICE is so backlogged with what they're doing, they let people that are law-abiding citizens stay in their households and stay in their communities if they're not causing any real issues. And that is what, once they declare that, they're eligible for SNAP benefits. They're eligible for housing benefits. I know that for a fact here in Texas, California, Arizona, and Florida. I'm not too sure. I think New Mexico like that too. So, but most of the other states, I believe, participate in this well. And you can scroll down, John, just to give everyone an idea. The majority, 2/3, guys, of all illegal immigrants are on some form of public assistance. And what that means is not only are they competing with you for a job, okay, in the labor market, now you're a part of your taxes are paying for these people to be here illegally. So in other words, part of your taxes, when you get a tax hike every year and you have to pay more taxes, a portion of those taxes you're paying for these people who shouldn't even be here, who broke the law to be here because they chose to go around the system instead of going directly to the system and integrating the society. And there's a bar graph right here you guys can see. The majority of the welfare recipients aren't the locals, guys. And this is on a per capita basis. In the red, those are illegal immigrants, okay? In the purple, that's immigrants of all kinds, legal and immigrants, legal and illegal. That's combined. And the green is the naturalized. So the green, when someone says naturalized, that means they basically passed an amnesty of some sort, where they've been here for so long illegally that there's no point of prosecuting. So they're considered naturalized citizens. And then there's native households. Native households are people like me and John who were born here. And by the way, that doesn't mean indigenous Europeans. That means anybody who was born here. Anybody who was born here, that's considered native households. So this is what compounds the problem of illegal immigration. It's also a load on the system. Now, you guys will hear occasionally about how, the majority of welfare recipients, and this is a state-by-state breakdown. It's sideways, so you can't really see it. But when you guys open this for yourselves, you'll see it if you want to see how the tables are broke down. But anyway, a further part of this is with illegal immigration is when you have people like myself and John who are working to pay taxes to fund all this stuff, and these people, they broke the law to get here, and then they feel entitled to a living, entitled to a house, because let's face it, it's like giving your kids money or giving your dog treats or whatever. It's like once they're accustomed to a certain system of whatever that is, they expect it. That becomes the way. They're adjusted to it. And once you take that away from them, all kinds of problems can ensue. They could be enemy combatants. They could become hostile units within the United States, and it creates a real sinister situation long term. And until Trump ran for president in 2015 when he declared, I believe it's 2015 when he declared, this wasn't even a topic that was up for discussion. It was such a toxic, contentious issue. This can, guys, has been being kicked down the road for so long, since Reagan's amnesty of '86, that we're just now running into this problem. And it's gotten so bad, guys, that it's almost unfixable because we have 20 million illegals here estimated by Yale. Oh yeah, I was going to look up that study and share that with you guys. And that's not including the legal immigrants that aren't even asked to integrate into the system. They're just bringing their culture wherever they're from, and they're not integrating themselves into the culture. I'll look up that Yale U real quick.
So, what's your thoughts, Jacob? Well, you said before Trump come into presidency. So, why, since the Trump presidency, is this became a big deal or a big issue? What changed?
Okay, so this is what made it a big deal. Okay, so there's you could put it in the context of tribalism from evolution, how human beings are. There's something called group-based competition. Okay, when there's only a certain amount of jobs to go around and you're introducing new entrants into a system, it's going to create a competitive situation for resources. Okay, like the black community has been most affected, not the white community. The black community has been most affected by this. And if they're bringing antithetical values, crime, you're creating group-based competition. So when you have a breakdown of values, you have more criminality, you have less resources to go around to more people. What that creates, it creates a situation where Americans, people who are host members of a country, they become disenfranchised. So just to give everyone an idea, just a basic idea of this, imagine there's like you have a big family, and there's a certain amount of kids in a family, and you bring in some neighbor kids into this family. They don't belong to the family, but your mom and dad were nice enough to bring them in. And then all of a sudden you start disenfranchising your kids for these neighbor kids. The biological kids of this mother and father, they get upset and angry about this, but they're not allowed to speak out about this. And this is the real pernicious thing about this, is the political correctness. And over the course of time, this wasn't a contentious immigration wasn't a contentious issue up till until I think it was just slightly after Bill Clinton got elected. Immigration became a contentious issue. And the reason why is because of the sheer numbers of different demographics. And if you guys want to admit it or not, I mean, tribalism, people get very tribal when it comes to resources. Now, if there's plenty to go around, that's one thing. But in these lower socioeconomic strata, where you have more and more and more, like a glut of people competing for fewer and fewer resources, it's going to get ugly, guys. And the reason why this sort of bubbled up into the collective consciousness of illegal immigration is because you have a lot of disenfranchised Americans who basically by quota, you could call it hiring quota, scholarship quota for the DACA kids. So scholarship quota, hiring quotas, welfare quotas. There's less resources, and people who are host members of a community, say America or Texas or wherever you're from, they're not getting the resources they expected, and they are going out to illegal immigrants and other groups, and people like Black Americans, people like myself. We feel disenfranchised. Well, I shouldn't say myself, but Americans like us, they feel disenfranchised. And when they want to use their freedom of speech to speak out on these issues, they're shot down, and they're figurative speech there. They're shot down and called racist to end and curb the discussion. Whereas Trump comes along, he's like a bull in a china shop, and all these, they call that decorum, when proper ways of political correctness. And think of political correctness, guys, as guardrails on a highway. As the guardrails get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, you can't even drive the car down the road. Okay, so think of it as guardrails. You're driving down the road. The guardrails keeps you safe. But once the guardrails move in and they move in and they move in and they move in, you can't even drive the damn car, meaning you can't even talk, okay? So Trump comes along and he rips those guardrails out, and he puts them really wide and opens up the discussion to everybody. That upset a lot of really sensitive people in this country, and a lot of people, by the way, who benefit from illegal immigration. The political consultant class of the Democratic left, the financial class, and also the big business donor class of the political right. So these people benefit. That's why they hate Trump so much. You guys hear people on the right say, I'm an anti-Trumper. This is the reason why. They don't like Trump because it disrupts their political influence. People on the left, that's less votes for them. That's why people have declared war. That's why Trump, he's not a president of bring the country together. He is a president who said, I am declaring war without saying this. I am declaring war on the political consultant class, on the big business class, big donor class in Wall Street. And that's it. That's why Wall Street hates him. Cato Institute hates him. City Chamber of Commerce hates him. Political consultant class hates him. Big donor class hates him because he disrupts their easy money. And what Trump's doing is serving the disenfranchised via empowering them politically with their voice and letting them speak and basically being a voice for them, saying, hey, there's less cookies to go around and there's more cookie monsters that want to eat these cookies. And cookie monsters come of all shapes, sizes, races, whatever. You could say there's less feed to go around. There's more cows or more, horses. And the people that were expecting these hay feeds, so to speak, the horse or the oxen that were expecting this hay, there's less hay to go around. They feel disenfranchised and they're speaking out. And they never had a voice until Trump came along.
That, and we got to put the media in there too with the Trump haters for sure.
I'm so sorry. I forgot about that too. There's the propaganda part of it too, where you need someone to speak on behalf of the political consultant class, Wall Street, the Cato Institute. Let me go on the big donor class, the big business class. Someone has to speak and be I'm lacking words at the moment. Someone needs to be their PR firm. Yeah, somebody needs to be these groups' PR firm. The media is their PR firm.
And that is why we get one side of the story, not the whole story. They're not speaking for us, for you and I. They're speaking for their special interest groups. They're speaking for the people who are paying their wages, footing the bill.
Yep. Yeah, what you guys have to understand. Oh no, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and that's why you
like 90% of the time.
President Trump so much saying fake news and fake media, and he's really opened up a war against the media as well as those other areas that Jacob talked about. And a big part of it is the media, because where do you and I get our information from? We get our information from the media. And for so many years, that was the information we got, and we didn't know any different. You knew what you saw, what you was told. And if you weren't a deep researcher and digging, you're going to know no different until Trump come along and exposed all of this. And so now all of a sudden, you can go on YouTube and you've got people like us all over the place that are digging and researching and pulling up and doing their own news stories and stuff like that on stuff that you don't see in the media, because you're only seeing what they want you to see. You're only being fed what they want to feed you. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Let me give you guys another study here. So about the news, I just want to dovetail off what John's saying. So I have a Pew Research study. You can pull this up, John. So basically what this is about, guys, is so Americans, and by the way, for those of you guys who don't know, the Pew Research group, guys, it's nonpartisan. They take data from both sides. They don't take a side. They deliberately call themselves apolitical. They just take data and they report it. They're not left or right. Okay. But many Americans, and this is just a recent study, say that the news is made up and it's a critical problem that needs to be fixed. And this is another bubbling of the consciousness. Okay. So who owns the media? The media is owned by the political consultant class, big donors, because the big donors and the big business, they're the advertisers who pay these news organizations. And the political consultant class, they're the ones, for those of you guys, I keep saying that. Political consultant class, they're the lobbyists, by the way. They're the special interest groups. They're not necessarily big business, because they could be for certain nonprofits, but they are for the political consultant class are lobbyists and they're for special interest. And they all have very competing interests. But what they have in common is want illegal immigration to politically curb dissidents. How do you do that? Stuffing the ballot box with illegals, legals. Uh, how else do you do that? Disempowering them economically, mass immigrating people to drive down wages. So if you can politically and economically disempower people, that's how you can control them. And if you can, put in some, if you can have some kangaroo court, far leftist judges, you can have. Let me think for a second. And when you can also have colleges that have leftist professors that can parse out the data and teach it as such to where students aren't being taught properly. They're not properly teaching and dispensing information in a way where students are they're armed, they're well read, they're information, they're numerate, they're very well read, their information literacy is top notch. They have critical thinking skills. They don't want to arm students with that, and that's why you're seeing this mass exodus of the colleges and the universities, because all this stuff is getting exposed, and a lot of it we can thank the internet for, because the internet doesn't really take sides. I mean, Google might take sides, but the internet is just a tool and a device. Google might take sides, Facebook might, but the internet itself as a device, no. If you have a voice and you're smart and people know about you, you will rise up in the ranks. And it's pretty egalitarian for the most part.
The internet is just a vehicle.
Exactly.
It's just a transportation. It's I-15, I-80, I-90. It's the highway to get the information there. So, but where it comes into your censorship and everything is with these platforms that we use that are all leftist agenda. You go with the flow, you're okay. You're not, you're in jail. Jacob finds himself in Facebook jail as we speak.
Yeah.
Over not, you can't disagree with what they want you to project, or they punish you for it. It's not much freedom in that, not much First Amendment or anything in that. So
that's very true. Yeah, John brings up a very astute point. I don't want to get into all of it, but basically I have an issue with how we treat gender, how we're muddying language between gender and sex. And I want to have very distinct borders. And I'm using that metaphorically. I want to have very distinct borders between what defines a man and a female. Anyway, I get in these Facebook groups and I have robust discussions, and a lot of people don't like what I have to say. I keep it civil. I don't curse in my posts. And yeah, you're on the way out, boy, because Facebook has made the decision that if anything involves a criticism toward feminism or transgenderism, it is considered violent threats and hate speech, and they will boot you off their platform. But that's unrelated to immigration and economic growth. So there. Let me find a Wall Street Journal. I think the Cato Institute or the Wall Street Journal that had a study just recently. I'll just fill everyone in that for every additional immigrant they take, if they take in more immigrants, the economy grows at a certain rate when you bring in more immigrants. Well, yeah, the reason why, guys, is you have more bodies in the economy. It's sort of like adding labor to your business. Let's say you have a business or a lemonade stand or something. If you add more people, of course you can have more productivity. But the people, the actors inside that lemonade stand might not all benefit the same. The owner of the lemonade stand might do really, really good. And the person who's in charge of politically making the laws for that lemonade stand might do really well as well. But the actors inside that lemonade stand might not all be making good money. Okay. You need an economic structure where you have a pretty clear, how do I put this, a hierarchy where the hierarchy is pretty clear. You can't have an imbalance where there's only a few at the top and a huge bottom, or else you can create a lot of civil unrest and possibly a political overthrow. And we've seen that all throughout history with the French Revolution. We've seen it. It's happened a lot of different places where you have a huge body of people at the bottom and a few up top. You know, I don't. There's a tool you can measure that, but called the Gini index. And the Gini index is pretty reliable in terms of measuring political stability with economic inequality. But here in America, we tolerate a little bit of inequality if the bottom gets raised. If the bottom continually gets raised little by little, like, so if there's a bunch of people at the top innovating and creating new technologies and new, if the bottom lifts, they call this, there's the thing called trickle down theory. If the bottom lifts as a result of the top innovating and doing well, America's really accepted that for the most part. But if the bottom stays the same and the top gets higher and higher and higher, that's when there's a problem. But again, we go back to history. The reason why America's tolerated a little bit of inequality is because the people at the top, phone creators, internet creators, Microsoft, go to all the technologies, YouTube, Facebook, we all benefit from that. These are all creations of the 1%. When they create stuff and get rich and we all benefit from that, we tolerate it because even the bottom people's lives get better. I mean, look at how many people have air conditioning, they have a car, they have a cell phone. Everybody's life is getting better because of these people at the top innovating and creating all these technologies. But when you have a situation where there's less to go around, there's more people competing for fewer resources, that's when you're going to have a situation where you're going to have civil unrest and possible civil war. And let me go back to this study here. So what's your take on that, John? You think that you got to have a pretty, I shouldn't say level, but you think that the hierarchy's got to stay pretty small, meaning you can't have the top too far separated from the bottom? I mean, what's your take on economic growth in terms of, like, do you think we should flood a nation with cheap labor and have a few people just do well and everybody fight for the crumbs? Or do you think we should slowly integrate people and give some people, these new immigrants, a chance at the middle class, upper class?
I absolutely agree with your last statement.
Yeah.
We have to, integrate them gradually. And okay, so they come here for a reason, right? They come here to escape the whatever that they're living in. And they come here because they want to thrive and they want to be innovative and they want to grow and
money back home to their home countries
and send money back home to their home country. But they come here, the ones that come here legally, that want to go through the processes and stuff, they want to grow. They want to make their first $1 million. You know, they can't do that in their countries. And, you know, here's my plug. We turn into a socialist country, we won't have that opportunity no more either. And
None.
It's one out of a million good reasons why we need to keep the freedoms that we have. There's a reason why these people are coming here. There's a reason why they want to come here. If we turn into where they're coming from, it defeats the whole purpose. There's a reason. It's because we are the richest country. We have the best opportunities for them, for us, for anybody to thrive and prosper. And
just come here illegally without drug convictions and murders and rapes and
we have a caller. We have a caller called in.
Oh, this is perfect, man. Perfect. We gotta love our callers, man. We love our callers.
But
go ahead. I'm sorry, John. Go.
Anyway, on the economic growth part of it, I had pulled up a bunch of research while I was waiting for the show today and kind of looked into it a little bit. And that's one of the driving factors is the opportunity to be able to prosper, right? By allowing all of the illegals, because they are illegal if they come into the country without going through the vetting process and going through the processes and leaving their shoes at the door when they go into grandma's house, then they are illegal. And the ones that come here and don't have any intention of making it legal, making it right, going through they're the ones that's driving down the wages, putting the unemployment rate higher. They're not counted as employed or unemployed. So they throw those statistics out. So they're posting these statistics. They're not even accurate because they're not factoring in the jobs that are being taken by the illegal immigrants that are coming here and working cheap.
Yeah, I have a study I just found. I was looking for the Wall Street Journal study, but there's a paywall. See, Wall Street Journal, they're clever. They're all about making money, like the New York Times. So I can't link these studies because it's behind a paywall, and I'm not giving them a dime. I hate the Wall Street Journal anyway, because they're anti-Trump. That's why. Anyway, I have a new study from it is the Economic Policy Institute about how wage stagnation, when you have more illegal immigrants, and hell, it's not just illegal immigrants, but when you have immigrants in the blue collar fields, and that's because a lot of blue collar fields is de facto low skill immigration. A lot of those people, they lower and they push down wages. And again, it goes back to the fact that when you bring in masses of labor, so basic supply and demand, people, when you bring in masses of labor, they're bringing their labor, they're selling their labor, they're trading their labor for money. When you bring masses of labor, the person who's hiring, they're going to bring the lowest cost provider, just like how we shop for laundry soap, we shop for cars, whatever the best product for the best price is. You have like sort of like a value index you have in your head. The lowest cost provider is going to win out. And what that's going to do is the people who are currently employed, they're going to get unemployed. Now, once again, the people who make these policies and protect illegals, they don't care. This doesn't affect them. In fact, illegal immigration is a net benefit to them because they have more political power, because they've disempowered the people that vote against them. Okay, that's number one. Number two, they've economically disempowered people that are against them. And now they have group-based competition where they can sort of, okay, minions fight for the crumbs. I'll win out. And anyway, I'm getting off track. But what John's basically getting at, and myself, and I'm pretty sure I can speak confidently for the other Johnny, is when you come to this country, the idea is you come through a system, and we can adequately process you. It's just like sort of checking someone coming at your front door of your house, okay? You can process them. You can account for your food storage. You can account for many things of having them there. Once you get too many people in your house, you realize, oh my goodness, I have a space problem. I have a food problem. I have a utility problem. We need to slow this down until we can acclimate the ones here. And then once we acclimate, they're bringing their own food in the house. Maybe they extend the house a little further and they're adding on their own little computer room, or they extend, like they build off an addition to the garage. And we all benefit when that happens, when everyone's pitching in and they're all buying into this sort of house I'm talking about. But once you have people that are cheating the system and they have no means of following the house's laws, they need to be kicked out. And that's what the gist of the conversation this country has. And by the way, it's been postponed for far too long. Well over 30 years we've postponed the illegal immigration argument.
It's been pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. It always has been.
Yep. And just for everyone to know, this isn't a race issue. The reason the political consultant class and the media wants to make this a race issue is they want to shut you down. I talked about the guardrails. They want to get wide guardrails and turn it really skinny to where your car can't drive down this metaphorical speech guardrail. They don't want you to have free speech. But here's the deal. The First Amendment, it protects, even if you, let's say it's not a good thing if you're a racist, if you're a sexist or whatever, the First Amendment protects all speech except for threats of violence and yelling fire inside a crowded theater or inside a crowded space. Other than those two things, you can speak, and you shouldn't let these people, you aren't free from consequences of other people, what they might say or do to you, but you have the freedom to say what you want. And these people are trying to make it difficult for you to speak up. That is the political consultant class, the big business class, the donor class. They're all against the little guy, the middle class. And guys, if we have a middle class that breaks down, oh, it's going to be all hell. And in addition to that, when we talk about the economic growth, when we have mass immigration, it also brings crime and drugs, and it brings human smuggling markets, because if you have a cartel, they can make money off of smuggling drugs and people in the United States. That's going to create a criminal problem. And I'll bring up a study for that as well, or an article, so you guys can flip through it here. That's another one of the big problems we have here is there's this human smuggling, like they call them coyotes. The coyotes come in here and they freaking they they get paid a certain sum of money to go around our asylum laws. We've had very generous asylum laws for a very long time, and we now have to discuss that because you have people that are making money off of that. And yeah, whenever we're done with this article, John will show you guys this next one we have from Washington Examiner about Guatemala's human smuggling network is big business for coyotes, and it's just a really sinister thing, man. We've put this off for far too long, this discussion, and we need to get control of our borders. And guys, you're no sooner racist for protect your borders than you are to protect people from entering your bank account, entering your private parts of your body, or entering your car, or any personal space that you own. Opening a border to like your private space is no different than opening a border to a sovereign nation. That's how I say it. What do you think about that, John? You think opening a border?
I totally agree. I was just pulling this last article up that you sent me so I can get it put up there.
Yeah, no problem, man. But yeah, guys, it's whenever someone says to you, you know, and I've dealt with every argument you can on illegal immigration. Every single argument you guys can call in or you guys can leave comments. I've fielded every argument you could possibly can about this issue. When it comes to illegal immigration, when they say you're racist for wanting to control your borders, ask them, are you racist for wanting a lock on your door? Are you racist for wanting to have limited control of your bank account? Are you to have your sole control of your bank account? Are you racist for those things? And when you turn it into an activity rather than different people, it becomes very clear at that point that what they're trying to do is they're just trying to shut you up.
The problem with the term racist or racism that I see today is that it's been way overused and way used out of context. In as I said a minute ago, it's a way for them, the political class, the whomevers, to shut you down, to shut us down, me down, you down, to shut us down from communicating truth, because now you're racist, or hate crime. They use all of these, but racism is the biggest one, but hate speech, not hate crime, hate speech and this and that to silence you. And this site's giving us all kinds of fits here.
Yeah, you can scroll out of it if you need to. It's the Washington Examiner. I mean, they ad rape the hell out of you.
Let me just scroll through it here so that anybody that wants to read it can pause and read it. But also, I'll mention right now, because we have new viewers on here that haven't been on before, all of the articles that we post in the video, I'll reference them in the body of the post when we get done. So I'll go back and add them. And so any of this stuff that you guys want to look at, you can certainly go click the links. They'll all be there.
Yeah, and one thing furthermore, what people have to understand about this is it's big business. There's certain groups of people, they benefit from this. And I don't mean the elitists. I'm talking about foreign nationals. I've found articles, guys, the Catholic Church is in on this. Like I've been involved with some Catholic Church members here in Texas where I live. And I'm just finding out, and they share articles with me, that the Catholic Church is involved with a lot of illegal immigration. I didn't even understand this. And I can share a couple articles with that as well. Is the Catholic Church is when people give donations to the Catholic Church, it goes into a big slush fund to fund illegal immigration. It's crazy. They shelter and house and protect a lot of these illegal immigrants once they've came across in the borders. And hell, they even use that money to transport people into our borders, ignoring our asylum laws. It's insane. Let me give you guys another one. This is straight from the Catholic News Agency. You guys will love this. It just goes to show you there's a lot of people benefiting from illegal. That's why it's become such a hot topic lately, because guys, there is a lot of people benefiting from illegal immigration, but it's like you're the ones that got to send your kids to school with people who can't speak the language yet. Meaning they have to slow the education process down for your kid and stop for them, and then your kid isn't receiving adequate education. And we're paying a lot of tax dollars for these kids. And a lot of these people who are operating outside the market, under the market, they're getting a free education for their kids, and they don't have to pay taxes in. And I'm sorry, guys, sales taxes isn't enough to cover education, okay? And check this out. This is straight from the Catholic News Agency. Straight from, this is a recent article, only a year old, that the Catholic Church is funding migration, illegal migration, not legal. And I got another one here too. Well, this one's in Spanish, but I have this is another one. Guatemala has a human smuggling network. This is another one, guys, and it's not just our own economics, United States. There's other economies this benefits. A lot of people are benefiting from this. That's why everyone wants to shut Trump up. Everyone wants to shut Trump up about this illegal immigration because there's too many people benefiting. The Catholic Church is benefiting from it because they're getting more memberships and more money in the pot. There's the political consultant class, big business. Other than the middle class, like everybody's getting paid in this deal. Like smugglers are getting paid. Everybody's getting paid. Except me and you. We're not making any money off of this. We're the ones paying for their welfare. Check out the next article. This is a good one. I think I put it in there.
This one?
See right here. Guatemala, yeah. So this one's from the Washington Examiner. By the way, guys, if you are of the right-leaning conservative thought, the Washington Examiner is a good source. I've fact-checked them. They're not the Washington Post, not the Washington Post. The Washington Examiner. They're excellent. They're excellent. This is one of my preferred newspapers I read online, or you can see news publications. That's mainstream. They're great.
It's legit, huh?
It is legit. I do like the Washington Examiner. I get a lot of their information. But look at this. You have Guatemalan coyotes. They're look at this human smuggling network. They're getting paid big on this too, man. I mean, everybody other than the middle class. Check this out. Other than the middle class, everybody's getting paid on this deal. The illegal immigrants are benefiting. The Catholic Church is benefiting. The coyotes are benefiting. The cartels with their drug flows benefiting. The rich are benefiting. The political consult, dude. Everybody's benefiting, but the middle class. The middle class pays the bulk of the taxes, and these taxes are funding a lot of these activities, and they're funding a lot of the welfare for the poor. It's just crazy, man. Got another article here. This is another one here too. I think this was an article about how Latin American countries have really high homicide rates based on per capita. And this is a real controversial thing I'll bring up too. So I mentioned earlier, guys, about the vices and virtues. The vices and virtues. So you can't just, when you bring in someone for their labor, you're bringing in a human being, and you have to tolerate their vices and virtues. It's sort of like hiring an employee for their skills, but you have to tolerate a lot of their habits and their ways of being. And as the old saying goes in HR, you get hired for your skills, but you get fired for your social skills. Okay? And we got another one. This is the 2016 homicide roundup. So this actually tracks homicide, I believe, per 100,000 persons in all these Central American and South American countries. And man, the criminality rate a lot of these people bring into these countries, and there's a breakdown right there if anyone's interested. The criminality, look at El Salvador, 81.2 per 100,000 people. That is one of the world's highest murder rates. Or homicide rate. I'm sorry, that's the correct term, is homicide rate. And there's a breakdown. It's much, much higher per 100,000 people in any of the British common law colonizer European nations. Much, much higher. And it's like, guys, when you bring foreign people into your countries, it's sort of like hiring someone with a good job skills, but you're not screening for their criminalities. Okay. Nearly all employers today, when you get hired for a company, they have a criminal background check on you. Why can't we have a criminal background check on people illegally entering the country? And we see MS-13 gangs and whatnot. Have you had any experience, John, when you were a police officer, dealing with illegal activity or anything of that sort, like illegal immigrants?
Yeah. There sometimes we would end up picking them up, and ICE had put a hold on them and come and get them and deport them, if they were picked up. Usually in drug-related crimes, we would run into them more so than probably anything else. When you do a raid or something or make arrests and fill search warrants and stuff, you'd come across them at that point. And usually you'd come, after doing a little bit of research and whatnot and stuff, you would find that this same individual, has been brought in on the same type of charges more than once, but what happens with them is ICE will put a hold on them and then they'll deport them. Well, they're back the next day. You give them 24, 48 hours and they'll be right back here. And
oh my goodness.
So then you deal with them again later on, usually for the same type of incident. Like I said, more often than not, it was drug related type incidents that you would deal with them, or that we would back then. I'd been quite a while ago. I've been gone a long time, but over 15 years. So
it's been a while. Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, our other co-host, Jonny, all three of us, what we have in common is we're all from the same small community, and they're proposing an ICE center, and it's a really contentious issue, and it would potentially bring a lot of jobs, and it create a lot of economic competition where other employers have to step up their game a little bit. But you have a lot of people in the town preventing that because they're afraid of the social costs of that. But this is sort of like a holding center in a prison. It's not like people are going to be like ICE facility. They just let them out and then they integrate into this local community. I think ICE puts pretty tight controls on the people they bring in. They don't just let them loose right there. I think right off their grounds, like a county jail or something.
No, it'd be a lockup facility. And that was one of the things that I've seen that there's a big contention over there, is the look of it, the image, the public image, and the razor wire. It is a locked up facility. You have a county jail there that's a lockup facility. You have Johnson Hall up at the state hospital that's a lockup facility, and it has razor wire. I think from what I've seen and what I've read into that since we got onto that topic is you have a group that keeps wanting to call them immigrants, and they're doing nothing wrong. They're breaking no laws. Why do we have to lock them up in a lockup facility with razor wire and blah, 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 blah? The underlying issue is being skirted. that they are criminal. They've committed a criminal act by entering the country without taking their shoes off at grandma's door. They have not come through the proper process. I'm trying to put this in terms that most people can understand,
That's a perfect analogy.
For some reason, they can't get the concept of committing a crime by coming into the country illegally. It's a crime to do that. Try to go into another country. Try to go into one of those third world countries without following the proper channels and see what happens to you. They take their borders seriously.
Yeah, look at
why shouldn't we?
Yeah, no shit. So I was reading a biography of Sam Walton, okay, Made in America. He went to Brazilian jail because he was going through the aisles and measuring the aisles, and they thought this dude was crazy, and they checked his records, and he wasn't a Brazilian. They locked Sam Walton, one of the richest. I think he was the richest man in the world at the time. Brazil locked his ass up because they didn't know who he was. What the hell is he doing getting on his hands and knees, a 70-year-old man measuring these aisles and stuff? Yeah.
Right.
You guys can read Sam Walton's his biography right before he died, Made in America. You guys will see in Brazil. Yeah. He was measuring aisles. He got locked up for. But that's how it's like that anywhere else, guys. And part of that, like what John alluded to, is the brainwashing that goes on in the media and academia and Hollywood and entertainment of oh, these people, they're not illegal. They're undocumented. Guys, if you come somewhere uninvited and no one knows who the hell you are illegally entering something. If I break into your house without you knowing, if I enter your house without you knowing about it, that is illegal entry, and I will go to jail for that.
If you break the laws, you are a criminal.
End of story. End of discussion. So it's just crazy. And see, hey, look at that last article you just pulled up real quick.
You want to back up?
Yeah, just real quick. So look at this, guys. So Guatemalans actually admit they're not coming here for asylum. You hear all this talk about, oh, these poor people, they're here for asylum. And these poor people are coming here they're here for asylum to get away from evil dictator governments. 91%, guys, that's 9 out of 10. They're coming here for economic reasons. Guys, it's up to American citizens to decide to bring these people in. It's not up to them. It's not up to them to come. It's up to us to decide if they can come. Okay? Yeah, I know. Anyway, I just want to make a quick comment about these people in this town we were from. I'll just let you guys know it's Evanston, Wyoming. John and I don't live there anymore. And it's funny to me because it's these people of the, I would say, the Aspen Grove, the Red Mountain area, the affluent areas, they're the ones who are largely saying we don't want this. And it's funny, they say our town's so beautiful, why would we have this eyesore in the town? When you drive into this place, guys, it's nothing but steel buildings and snow and sagebrush fields. It's not like you're going into Prague or Venice or Paris or something. This isn't Paris, or this isn't Park City or Aspen. It's not Park City, Utah. It's not Aspen. It's not freaking it's not Sedona, Arizona. This is steel buildings we're talking about in the snow and sagebrush.
A couple of comments here.
Sure, let's go for it.
From somebody who lives there. I'm going to read the comments. I'm not going to put them up. I don't know if you want me to or not.
Sure,
but
go ahead and just read them.
The same people that don't want it here are the same ones that think they will ruin the town by possibly living here. Comment number one.
That's a legitimate concern.
That is a legitimate concern, and that's from what I've been following, because I've been following this pretty close, and from what I've been reading and whatnot, and finding reading the comments and the public commentary, and oh my gosh, it's gotten so nasty over there about this thing. But that's one of the big issues that comes up all the time is they think that I think they're likening it to like MRS or whatever, more so than they are a holding facility, a lockdown holding facility. They're not being sent there to migrate into the community and live. They're being sent there to be held until they can be shipped back to where they came from. That's what an ICE facility is. It's not an MRS where they're going to integrate and live in town and go shopping at Walmart on the bus and all. It's not that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, it's a federal prison. Wherever you see it, well, it's not a prison, but it's a holding center. So if you guys have seen anything federal, like a federal prison, prisoners are transported to and from. They don't open the gates like a county jail and they just walk out. No, they are accompanied by a federal agent that takes them somewhere. There's nowhere these people go without a federal agent with them. ICE, by the way, ICE members are federal agents, for those of you guys who don't know. And I want to offer my sympathy, or my empathy, I should say, for those people that are concerned about that, because that is a legitimate concern. I want to ignore that. Yeah, that is a concern. What if these people are just open the doors like a county jail and they just go into the system? Now we have a whole flood of criminals going into Evanston.
Right.
What I would do, just to litmus test that, see how the ICE facilities are done everywhere else, like in California and everywhere else. If you can use that as a litmus test to see if that's actually a thing, like if they're letting people out. But from my understanding, they don't do that. If it's a federal facility, it's just a holding center from they're transported to and from. That's my understanding, though.
Here's a little tidbit of information for you. The Uintah County Jail has been holding ICE detainees for many, many years.
There you go.
I said it a little while ago. When we would run into them in our normal activities, usually drug type arrests, so on and so forth, we would run into illegals. We would run them through ICE. ICE would put a hold on them. They would go to the Uintah County Jail and sit there until ICE come and got them and transported them to Salt Lake and put them on a plane and sent them back to where they came from, deported them. Unless they had major criminal charges, then they would deal with those criminal charges here first before being deported back. So it's not a new concept. The numbers will be a lot different because instead of there being one here, one there, or a handful here, a handful there, it's going to be however many the facility will hold, because it's a holding facility for the whole area, the way I understand it. So there will be many there. Other than that, it's been going on in that county for a long time. So it's not a new concept.
Yeah, it's not a, yeah.
Let me read a couple more.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
comments. It's a, let's see. It's a temporary holding facility. They committed an illegal crime, got caught, and now ICE has to deal with them. That is correct. It's a whole. Schools are great and the town is okay, but we don't have anything to offer anymore. They don't give them a bus ticket to send them on their way. No, they don't give them a bus ticket and send them on their way. They are illegal detainees. 1,000, she says, 1,000 capacity. So
that's not shit. Only 1,000. Some of them are much bigger.
For Evanston, that's quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's 10% of the
like
town. Never mind.
People.
I'm applying like Lubbock standards. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is a lot.
Like
that is a lot.
People. So 1,000. That's a pretty big number, and I can see why people are concerned about it. But the comment up above that says they don't give them a ticket and send them on their way. And no, they don't give them a ticket.
No.
They're like in jail. They're locked down. And they stay there until somebody comes and gets them, or they transport them. Maybe they'll be transport them. I don't know how these private facilities work. I worked for a county. I worked for the government. So, but somebody will either come and get them, or they'll put them in a bus that's driven by a security or a cop, a federal cop, and take them to wherever they're taking them to get them deported to where they go. No, they won't just be put on Greyhound, given a bus ticket. Here you go. Make sure you make it to Salt Lake City. See a piece. No, it's not like that.
That sounds like pure propaganda to me. That sounds like pure put on a bus.
Yeah.
These are federal crimes. This isn't. People are somehow confusing federal crime.
It's criminal.
Yeah, and it's federal. It's federal. It's not county or city. It's federal crime, meaning the lockdown process is much more sophisticated.
It is. The capacity, just to get that on here, since we talked about it, is 600 men, 400 women. So your 1,000 number is 600 men, 400 women.
That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of jobs to feed them, to house them, to wash their clothes, to process. That's a lot of administrative. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of jobs. And those jobs, that money would most likely stay in Evanston. Even if you bring people from, like, say, the outside in that town, those people are going to live there and they're going to spend money there. And that money's going to be spent in local businesses. I mean, how could the people not want that? I shouldn't opine my opinion, but I just can't understand how they don't want that.
Fear, because people fear things, and it's easier to reject it than dig into it and find out what it really is. And I know there's a lot of people there that's doing exactly that, because I've been following the stuff, and people are digging into it. And I've seen some of the comments and some of the posts from the other places and so on and so forth, where, there's no matter what you have, you're going to have pros and cons. You're going to have people that are with it and people that aren't with it. So reading all the comments, I read a lot that were people talking negatively about how it's ran and stuff like that. I don't know the validity of any of those comments, but it was comments that people had put on posts about the company Core, whatever the company is. I can't think of the name of it. Core something, but so I mean, it's a big issue. We're kind of way over time, but
my bad, man.
It's all good. This is stuff that needs to be talked about, and you and I are both. I'm from there, basically. That's where I live.
Me too. I mean, I grew up there. I lived there 20 years. I mean,
we both left, not because we had to. Right, we left for.
I mean, I left for economic opportunities. I mean,
Core Civic is the name of it, but more money, better paying jobs. A lot of the people that have stayed there need some stability in the future years to come, because last time I drove up there, I try to go a couple times a year. I like to ride my Harley up there once or twice and so on and so forth. My son still lives there, and then they got good beer there. That's a good reason to ride up there right there.
Yeah, but there you go.
There's not a lot there anymore. It's like, golly, you drive through town and this is empty and that's empty. And it's like, holy shit, spend 7 or 8 years, 10 years away from there and go. And it's like, man, there's some big changes. So, there's a reason to be concerned about that. You gotta keep things refreshed to keep the young people there. Because you have the retirees there that are getting their retirement and don't need jobs and aren't concerned with that. But you have new generations coming along. When you're all gone, somebody needs to be there to keep things going, right? So, there needs to be a reason for people. I mentioned it in one of the Uinta County Herald articles that I made a response on, was, there needs to be a reason for the college kids to go off to college and come back to hometown.
I mean, everywhere else,
send them off, get them educated, and then send them to some other community to benefit that community with their expertise. Keep it home if you can. So anyway,
exactly. And the funny thing is, here's the funny thing with all this, guys. For those who aren't familiar with Wyoming is, if you go by the strict laws, the laws on the books, Wyoming is probably one of the most pro-business states you could ever do business. Low regulation, no state income tax. I mean, it is the most pro-business state. There is so much business being funneled up to Cheyenne from Colorado and Las Vegas right now. In fact, one of the top LLCs people get all over the country, other than, I think, the Delaware LLC and the Nevada LLCs, the two LLCs people get. By the way, you can live anywhere in the nation and get those LLCs. But the Wyoming LLC, why? Because the laws are written as such to be so pro-business. Wyoming, guys, that town should be thriving with business. But the problem is, you have a lot of people there. They want to keep it a certain way. And it's like John said, you have to bring in a certain group. You have to funnel in new people to bring new ideas and new business, or otherwise the town dies. And this is the bad part is, this goes to all communities. I've seen it this summer in the Midwest. When you have a mass exodus of people with skills leave elsewhere, asset values in houses, it goes down and down. So if you own a home, and look at Bonnie, and Bonnie's a realtor there, it's going to be harder and harder and harder for people to get the value of their prices of their homes if there's a mass exodus to get the hell out of there, because that puts a higher inventory of houses on the market.
I did look at the last Uinta County Herald picture. I did look at the picture, but I opened the article and looked at the picture because I wanted to see who all was at that meeting. And this comment right here, you know, I saw that she was there and the mayor was there. Other than that, it looked like, you know, it was a pretty, it was a more mature group in age wise. So the young people of that community.
Oh man.
I know Johnny's usually on here with us. He's busy tonight.
We understand. Yeah.
We miss him on here.
Yeah, we do.
You know, he's one of the younger ones there that are out there being vocal, trying to help the community, you know, and more young people need to step up because it's your future. The retired people are going to be gone, and it's going to be you young people left there that are going to be the older people that are going to be wanting to retire. And you can't retire because you're door greeting at Walmart because you have no retirement and you're 76 years old and you just want to live peacefully and you're having to stand there and be nice to people as they walk into the store because you have no retirement. There needs to be jobs. She said the jobs are starting guards at $52,000 per year, you know, and for that area, that would be an excellent wage. The cost.
And guys, that's not oil field
there.
Yeah.
And imagine if you could get husband and wife working over there, one in the kitchen, one in the guard shack. Now, all of a sudden, now you're making a damn good living. But anyway, 52,000 is nothing to shake a stick at.
So any more comments, John? Because I think we can wrap it up.
That's
right
it.
There. We're a little tight on time.
We need to get off here. We've been on here way too long tonight. Very healthy discussion, though. I don't mind running them long as long as people want to watch them. That's
sure,
why we try to keep it at an hour to keep interest. But I think the topics that we covered tonight, I think, are very on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, and I think we're okay by going way over. And you know, those of you who did join us, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the input for sure.
Yes. Thank you for the comments, guys. And there's a ton of great resources we have for you guys. So if you guys have any input or you guys want to make any arguments, there's a lot of great resources here for you. A lot of great sources. I have vehemently fact-checked a lot of the stuff I'm passing off to you guys. So they're all very legitimate sources I'm giving you guys.
It is. So with that, let's close this thing up for tonight.
All right.
We will be back next Saturday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will surprise you with the topic. We'll come up with it a little earlier than we did this time. We'll get her posted up.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for your eyes, attention, energy, everything.
You betcha. Peace.
Yep,
Have
peace.
a good week.
Yep.